So I'm Jan Nevelius from Sweden, and it's an honor to be here representing Sweden and the International Aikido Federation during these times of Corona and lockdown. So I think it's been a very difficult and very interesting time for everyone, and for Aikido people specifically, because we cannot move and we cannot touch. So I think there's a great challenge, especially for us. What do we do now? So I wrote Aikido, Tai Chi, and Qigong in the invitation. And I'm actually meaning, it's like a journey that's been personally for me. When I can't do Aikido, what do I do? When I can't touch, when I can't move, what do I do? So I turned to principles of Tai Chi and Qigong, which is actually very similar to Aikido. But in Tai Chi and Qigong, we don't have a partner so much, and we don't move around so much. So it's really interesting to find qualities in Aikido from these other arts. They're not touching so much and not moving around so much. So it's been very interesting and challenging to do this research. So, so I want to start with a little greeting to Showman, and then we do a little warm up, and then I will explain a few things. So I will turn around. So let's first, if you can, sit in Seiza. Let's start to circle around our center. And have some deeper breathing. Breathing in and out of the center. Feel the center. Turning around and turning with your center. And moving back and forward. Try to move from your center again and have a flexible spine. So the spine bends back and forth. Still moving from your hara. And sideways, same thing. Moving your center first, and then allow the spine and the rest of the body to follow the movement. And then turn around the center. Release your arms and shoulders and hands. Deep breathing. Feel the movement coming from inside. Feel the breath connecting deep inside to your center. And we can slowly stand up. Keep the motion, turning around our axis, moving from our center. And slow down the movement. Close the eyes and take a deep breath, standing completely still. Just feel your axis, your center, and the earth under you and the sky above you. Put the feet together, put your hands together, go down. Imagine you touch the earth, breathe in. Imagine you touch the sky and breathe out. Touching the earth with your mind, touching the sky with your mind, breathing out. One more, sink down, touch the earth, breathe in. Touch the sky, breathe out. Put your feet apart and then imagine you catch the breath of the earth and bring it up. Sink down, turn and release the breath up into the sky. And draw the breath back into your center. Pull your navel inside and make a contraction in your center, like you hold or squeeze your center. And then release into the earth again. Catch the breath, breathe in. Turn, sink down, and breathe out and release. High up into the sky. Draw the breath back into your center. Hold your navel, hold your center, compress in the middle, and then release. Catch the breath, breathe in, release it. Draw it back inside. Hold it, compress it, and release it. And relax. Turning around your center. Okay. And then we'll try to do a step. We'll use full breath, empty breath, compressed breath, and then release the breath. So we do it in a few steps. We stand feet wide apart, belly breathing, full breath. Breathe in completely, expand your chest and belly. Draw your navel inside and push the air out. Use your whole body, like you grab the earth with your toes, grab your knees with your fingers. Breathe in, expand. Breathe out, compress out. And use your navel, draw the air in. Push the air out. And we speed up a little bit. And breathe in. Full breath. Now empty your breath completely. Draw your navel to your spine. Empty your breath completely. Hold your breath. Hold your breath. Empty, hold it. Breathe in. Push your hands together and your legs together and hold your breath. Compressing your breath. And release it. And shake your hand. In front of your center. Touching your center gently with your hand. Let the energy circle inside. And stop the movement. And we do it one more time. Full breath, empty breath, and compressed breath. So, full breath. Breathe in, expand, empty. Draw your navel to your spine and empty your breath completely. Hold your breath. Holding. Breathe in. Hold your breath and compress your breath. Compress your hands, compress your legs. Compress your breath, your mind inside. And release your breath. Relax. Shaking the hands. And let the hands slowly stop in front. And open, draw a circle in front of you. Turning opposite direction, moving in a circle. And then behind you, on the other side, keep the palms of your hands together. And then in front of you, stretch forward and come up close to you. Breathe out, go forward. Breathe in, come up. Breathe out, go forward. Now come up front, breathe in. Go down behind, breathe out. Reach out forward, breathe in. Come down in front of you, breathe out. Release your hands and draw a big circle with both your hands. A big circle. And then we Open the side of the body, make a gentle stretch of the spine and the body. And turning back behind. And the other side. And then breathe in. Open your chest and breathe out, empty your chest. One more, breathe in. Fully breathing in and completely emptying, breathing out. Put your feet together, breathe in, draw a big circle. And come down in your center. Hold your hands, gently touch your center. Feel a little pressure on your hara. Concentrate in your lower abdomen. Feel the energy moving inside. And relax. So, last one we did was this. So, talking about the situation right now, we cannot move. So we cannot move around and we cannot move so much in Aikido because we don't have a partner and we cannot travel. So, and we cannot gather. So what if we cannot move? Well, we can explore movement in non-movement. What can we move inside? I think in Aikido, we are somehow experts in moving. We have tenkan, irmi tenkan, we enter, we go out, we go in, we turn. But now we cannot use our feet so much in the same way because we are not in Aikido. So when I did Tai Chi Chuan push hands for the first time, I was very annoyed because the teacher told me to keep my feet on the ground and not move. As soon as he pushed me, I did tenkan, irmi tenkan. And he said, no, don't move your feet. And I was like, why? I built my whole training on moving my feet. I'm an expert in moving my feet. And he said, no. Now we're not going to move our feet. And I was extremely frustrated. And then I became really, really interested. How do you maintain your balance when you don't move your feet, when you don't use what you're good at using? Actually, sometimes it's very interesting to not do what you're very good at doing, because you might learn something different. So when I came through my frustration, I thought, wow, it's really interesting to not move my feet and see how I can maintain my balance when my teacher pushed me or when I tried to expand and move my teacher. How can I hold my balance? A key to that I found for myself was understanding the foot. So this is a simple drawing of the foot. And if I don't use irmi tenkan or tenkan, I have to shift my balance between the connection points on my feet. And actually we're standing on 18 connection points to the earth. 10 toes, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 8 together with the other foot. So there are 18 contact points to the earth. And we can shift the balance between all these contact points. So we have 18 places where we can move the balance to without moving our feet. And the other interesting part is the arch or the valve that should be in the air in a healthy foot. And unfortunately, shoes destroy our arch, so we collapse with the foot. But a good way to recover that arch is to grab the earth with the toes, like a bird sitting on a stick. So if we stand up, you can stand in hammy position or shoulder width apart, it doesn't matter. But just feel how you grab the earth with your toes and shift your balance a little bit forward and backward. You can try to feel all these 18 contact points the toes in both feet and the other connection points in your foot, including the heel. And then when you grab gently, the arch comes up. And the valve or the arch should be in the air. That gives energy to the leg and the posture. If the foot drops flat, we lose power in the feet and the legs. So activating the toes, grabbing a little bit is very, very good. And then shifting the balance around the feet. So we're not moving, we're just shifting the balance. We can draw a circle, shifting the balance. And we can also feel all these contact points while we do that. How we can actually stand almost on one of them and shifting the balance without moving the feet. So another thing with the foot is the turning points. And there are two, one in the front part of the foot, one in the heel. They should not be active at the same time. So either use the front one or the back one. And when I turn the front, the knee follows. This is very, very important. If I use the back one, the knee also follows because the knee should be aligned with the foot all the time. If I have both contact points in the ground and I turn, I will twist my knee and destroy my knee. So if I do tenkan or imi tenkan, you have to choose either the front or the back turning point, but don't have both points in the ground at the same time because you always twist your knee. So the turning should be in the hip joint. So holding the balance on one leg and releasing the other leg is really, really good for Aikido people. Because when we do tenkan or imi tenkan, we have to turn in the hip joint. And we turn on either the back or the front of the foot. Then we don't twist our knees. Sometimes people say Aikido people have a lot of knee problems because we do suarvasa. I think it actually could be also because we do tenkan and imi tenkan and we don't know how to turn the foot with the knee because they always have to be aligned. So this is what if we cannot move? But the other question is, what if we cannot touch? So we don't have a partner. And that's also an interesting question. If we cannot touch, what do we do? Well, one thing we can do is to find our own independent balance. Because the partner is the solution and the problem. As soon as we have a partner, we start to relate. And we start to pull or push. And we lose our independent balance. So exploring the balance and how to move in an independent balance is a really good research for later when you come back to a partner. Instead of hanging or leaning or pulling or pushing, if you have an independent balance and you work from that, your movements become much more free. So let's see a little bit the difference between weight and balance. If we are standing on one leg, so release the other foot. Now, my weight is on my left leg, but my feeling of balance is of course also in the left leg, otherwise I would fall. But I can start to move my feeling of balance out, still keeping one feeling down in my leg and the other one is going out. Then I start to follow with the foot and then the weight comes. So I'm standing on the other leg, releasing my left hip. I breathe in, shift my awareness. I shift my awareness of my balance out. Now I follow and the weight drops. If I move my weight moves before my balance. So don't use your weight, use your balance when you move. When you use your balance, it means your mind moves before your body. So always before you move, if you want to move behind you, back, move your mind behind you, drop the foot and follow with your weight. If you want to move forward, move your mind in front of you, touch the ground and follow with your weight. So your balance is where your mind is. Your weight is where your body is. So always move with your balance and let your weight follow. We can also call this Shinken-tai, which is an expression in Japanese martial arts. Spirit, heart, ken, sword, tai, body. Shinken-tai. We move our mind, we move our sword, and we enter with the body. So in this case, if I have a sword, I don't want to cut. I want to change my mind in this direction and cut and follow. If I'm standing and researching my balance, my leg is my sword. Now, my leg is my sword. So I'm going to move my mind and move my sword, my leg, and then I shift my weight. So my mind, shin, my sword or my foot, ken, and then my body, tai, follows. If we train to move in this way, we will have much less accidents. Because I think many accidents happen when the body moves before the mind. But if your mind moves before your body, then you know where you're going. So it's a really good training to see, do I really move with my mind before my body? Or is my body moving and dragging my mind behind? So these are things we can do when we cannot move. Checking our balance, checking our internal balance, how to change the balance where we stand. Also, we did a few breathing exercises, and breathing is another thing we can do a lot when we cannot do Aikido. So I gave some examples of simple breathing exercises, and I would like to add one thing I actually learned from my Shiatsu training in Japan and my Zen training. That was the image of breathing with a paper in your mouth. And the idea is that you breathe so gentle that the paper does not move. And you contain your breath. It's the opposite to mouth breathing. So of course we get exhausted when we practice, but we can also think about if you can contain your breath, the more you can do that, don't breathe on your partner. Either use your breath, use it for a kiai or a breathing exercise, or contain your breath. So in Shiatsu, I was told when I do Shiatsu to never breathe on the patient. If I'm doing Shiatsu and I'm going down and breathing out, it's very important to breathe slowly, gently, close to myself. You wouldn't go like when you do Shiatsu on someone. You contain your breath. You breathe through your nose as much as possible, and you breathe very slow and gentle, close to yourself. So this is the same in meditation. So when we breathe thoughtlessly out from the mouth, we lose energy. We can, of course, use the mouth breathing to release tension, to release stress. But when you train, try to use the contained breath, and then when you use your breath, you use it with a thought. This is also good in these times when we should not breathe on each other, to contain your breath. So exercise how to hold the breath and breathe very gentle, very slow, close to yourself. And then when you use your breath, you really use your breath consciously. So we don't have a partner, we cannot move around so much. So another thing we can explore is nobody's disturbing us. Usually when we do Aikido, somebody is attacking us. They're grabbing, hitting, whatever. Now nobody's there. So it's a great chance to explore effortless movement. And how do we move effortlessly? Well, you have to create an image of moving without resistance. So that's why movements in Qigong and Tai Chi are very smooth, very soft, because it's an image of moving without resistance. The problem is when we have a partner, it's easy to think, oh, I have to achieve something. I have to throw or pin or do something with a partner. How can I move effortlessly? Well, it's a great opportunity now when we don't have a partner. So one exercise that comes from Japanese dance, it's actually to pick up a cloth. Because if I say, imagine there is no resistance, it's difficult. Because how do you imagine nothing? Well, you can imagine you drop a cloth. And then when you lift the cloth, it's close to nothing. This is all the power I need to lift it and drop it. So this creates a pattern in my brain and my body, my consciousness. How little effort do I need to lift a cloth and to drop it? And when I do this, I use my balance and my breath. So I stand on my left leg and use my right foot and I check my right hip. So my right hip is free. And then I imagine my right hand is lifting. And I breathe in and hold with my breath and then release with my breath. Doing this, as I said, creates a pattern of how little power do we really need to lift a cloth like this and to drop it. Then, if you do this many times, you can do the same movement by yourself. Your hands floating up, breathing in, your hands sinking down, breathing out. It's like you lift the cloth, you hold it with your breath and you release it with your breath. Because nobody's there to stop you. So take a chance to explore effortless movement. So let your hands float up, breathing in, let your hands sink down, breathing out. Imagine you lift something very light, you hold it and you release it. How little power do I need to lift this? Because it's interesting that how do we create new patterns of moving? If we are stuck in our paradigm and think, I have to throw this person, we will always use some power and some force. So how do I change my patterns of moving? So imagine something very light, holding this, moving it and dropping, using your breath, can change your pattern of moving. And then when the partner grabs, imagine your partner is very light. And slowly, slowly, you can start to feel a change, that your pattern of movement change. We don't need so much power to move. So we have to create these images and put them in. So we cannot move so much, we cannot touch, so we can study very precious things at the time. And it's always good to not do what you're really good at doing. For example, moving around. Another thing that's really interesting to research in these times of lockdown is searching for the source of the movement, the origin of the movement. Because in Aikido, unfortunately, and in life, we're very busy with results. So we want to throw somebody attack, we want to throw them or pin them. It's a result. Now we can't do that. So we can skip the result and study, where did the movement come from? It's the other side. Where did it start? And can we start in a deeper place? Because nobody is disturbing us. So in bow shooting, for example, it's very easy to aim at the target and become obsessed about the target. But if you start to think about, how am I shooting? How am I breathing? From where do I move? Instead of, I want to hit the target. You can study where the movement begins inside. So I want to talk a little bit about the root of the arm and the leg. And there's a saying in the Qigong movement that the root of the arm begins in the shoulder blades, the scapula. And it goes down the back to the spine. What does this mean? Well, this is a tree, and a tree does not grow from the ground. Well, in one way it does, but it grows also down into the earth because it needs a root. So if I move from my arm, I'm lifting the sword from my shoulder. But that's not the beginning of my arm. The root of the arm is the shoulder blade and the back, and maybe even the tailbone inside. So if I imagine my tailbone dropping a little bit, my shoulder blade dropping, and my back moving down and lifting the sword, I have a feeling of something growing from deep inside. Instead of the movement beginning here, it begins much deeper inside. Another example. So if I want to move this apart, I begin the movement in my hands. It's a great effort. Now I'll begin the movement in my back. I'll feel my shoulder blades, my spine, and my tailbone. And then instead of pulling, I will start to compress my back and open my chest. And when I open my chest, it's much easier because the movement is coming from deep inside instead of an external place, which is my hands. If I move my hands, it's very easy to block this movement. But if the movement is coming from inside, for example, from my back, so I feel my back, my spine, and my shoulder blades. And I move my shoulder blades and compress my back and open my chest. Now it's much easier because the movement is coming from deep inside. And the other interesting thing, every balanced movement needs a counter movement. If I want to raise my arm, I should drop my shoulder blades. So there is a balance between the dropping and the rising inside the body, dropping and rising. If I only lift, the movement is unbalanced. It's just up. But when I drop my shoulder blade and the arm comes up, then there is a balance between dropping and rising. So we can look at the legs. Can also imagine the legs growing from deep inside. And we can imagine the legs as an extension of our spine and our tailbone. So if I lift my leg like this, it will be very tense. But if I drop my tailbone and I lift my leg with my tailbone, and the leg is an extension of my tailbone, the leg becomes and stays very soft. Because I drop my back, I lift the leg with my tailbone here. But when I lift my leg with my muscle, it becomes tense. So you can imagine the legs just an extension of your spine. So there's a lot of this to play with. Everything that moves in one direction needs to move in another direction to create the balance. Another way to check the same thing is to stand and hold a jaw or a can. Now I move it with my hands. So it's one kind of feeling. I'm moving the stick with my hands. I can do some kata with my hands. But if I keep my hands and my arms still, and I move from inside, the movement from inside moves the jaw, but I don't move my arm or my hand. So this is also a way to check the source of the movement. The movement is coming from my center, my core, because I don't move my external arm. So the movement is coming from a deeper place. And if I make a kata with this feeling, it's much deeper connected than if I move a jaw and I make a kata with my hands. So instead of making katas with hands, make katas coming from deep inside. It's all where we begin, where we connect. You could use this image for moving the jaw from this place inside yourself, instead of moving it from out here. So moving inside, there will be an effect around you. Or from Japanese swords schools, having your spirit, your mind in the core. Then you can cut in every direction, because your mind is free to move in every direction. But the mind is in the center, inside. So that's where the mind and the movement starts and goes out. So another theme of this, checking our balance and from where we move. It's really interesting because we cannot move. Why don't we stay and challenge ourselves? So I use a balance board and I see, can I stand on the balance board and cut? And can I change direction and cut? Because now my balance needs to be independent. Because if I cut and use some force, I will lose my balance. So in order to keep my balance, it's really interesting to stand on a balance board and turn around and cut. You can do the same with the jaw, making ski, whatever, standing on the balance board and make it ski. So you feel that you have an independent balance. So all these things we can do while we are in lockdown. when we check the source of the movement coming from a deeper place, because we are not so busy with results anymore because there's nobody there, it's very interesting to find the quality of the spiral movement. We have lots of spirals in Aikido. Sometimes we do them more in the room, more external. But if you start to feel them deep inside, where do the spirals start inside you without moving? So these spirals go through us inside and extend out in the body. So to find the source of those spiral movements, we can do while sitting or standing. And the spiral movement is very, very powerful. If we move in a straight action, like let's say Moroto Dori, Katatari Otodori, somebody holds the arm here, and I try to raise the arm. There's no spiral. But if I start to think about these internal spirals, that the movement is coming deep inside from me and turning, going through, dropping my shoulder blade and expanding. This movement is much more difficult to stop. So this spiral movement here, it's a inside turn coming outside. So if somebody grabs and you make this spiral coming here, it's much easier to move than if you move straight and just move from the shoulder. So moving from a deeper place, moving in spirals, checking ourselves, checking our balance when we are not moving so much, and see how we can align our foot and our knee and move in the hip for Tenkan, Irmi Tenkan. So for the movement in the hip joint here, it's also a spiral. It's turning from deep inside and coming out in the leg, but the turning should always be in the hip joint. So this makes the leg free and we avoid damaging the knees here. So I would like to end with a few more breathing exercises, or same breathing that we did before. So let's do the contained breath. So when we breathe and we contain the breath, you allow the breath to go very close to yourself. You're breathing through your nose. You breathe it in and out and make a very calm, slow breath. You imagine if there was a rice paper here, the paper should not move. So if you sit and close your eyes, imagine you have a rice paper in your mouth and you breathe in through your nose and you breathe slowly out through your nose without disturbing the paper. Breathing in through your nose very calmly. And breathing out through the nose calmly. Containing the breath. So we are not moving around, we are exploring movement in stillness. And see how free we can feel inside without moving. So we can open the eyes and grab the breath. Breathe in, rise the breath, and breathe out. Imagine you really release the breath out into the sky, but don't stretch your arms too much, just release the breath. And then draw your breath into your center. Make a compression, pull your navel inside and hold your center like a knot, and then release into the earth. Catch the breath of the earth and bring it up. Release it high up into the sky from your spine, straight up. Draw the breath into your center. Hold your center, compress your center. And release into the earth again. Catch the breath, bring it up. Hold it and release it high up into the sky. Use your imagination. But don't overstretch your arms, just your mind. Breathe in, draw your navel inside and hold your center. Compress your center and release your center. Release your breath into the earth again. Breathe in, catch the breath and release it. Breathe in to your center, compress your center. Pull your navel inside, hold your center, and release the breath. One more, breathe in, and release. Draw into your center. Compress the breath in your center, and release it into the earth. And relax. Just turning around your axis, releasing your breath. And let the movement slow down. Put your hands back. Sit in stillness for a moment. And then we end. Right, Shihan. Right. Arigatou gozaimashita.
どうもありがとうございました。
Thank you, Sensei. Thank you so much.
どうもありがとうございました。
Thank you all, and hope to see you again on the tatami somewhere, sometime.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you.